Hey everybody. Happy what? Is it Tuesday really
It's
already?
Tuesday and it's the 15th, and I had no idea when my internet was dumping earlier. And I was it was like, have a great, I don't know, Christmas, Valentine's Day. We're past both of those.
Beware the Ides of March. That's March 15th.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're here. We're talking about USPs. A lot of people think, you know, they don't know what a USP is.
Yeah, and that's one of the first things that I run into. And I'm doing a training on nailing your USP tomorrow. And we're going to talk about some of the misconceptions that I hear. And I asked everyone who signed up, like, what their biggest challenge was around their USP. And I was, and we're so in this world of marketing, we're so entrenched in it that USP is just one of those things that we say. Sometimes we forget what some of the individual letters mean, but we all know what the thing is, and it's a unique selling proposition for anyone who doesn't know. And I was amazed at how many people were like, "Oh, I had to Google that when I saw your post," and I said, "Oh." So it's good information. It's good feedback for me that some of the things that just become inherent in our conversations. But so many people, I think, the four misconceptions that I've kind of put together as a result of hearing people's feedback and their challenges are, I don't know what it is, so I don't need one. Or I don't need one because I know mine. Like, one of those two things is kind of, they're very closely interrelated. And so I don't know. If someone were to ask me on the street, like, or at a backyard barbecue, what the heck is a USP? I'm going to tell them it's what makes your business special. It's what makes you stand out. And, not to necessarily be confused with a UVP, which is your unique value proposition, or your UM, which is your unique mechanism. I think what's most important is that you need to nail something and to know who it is that you serve, who you are, and how you serve them. And then sort of like why it matters. Not even sort of like, it's just that
it is very much like exactly why it matters, because nobody's going to buy from you if they don't know why you're different from the other. 50 people selling the same thing. I mean, why would somebody buy a website from me when there's 5,000 other website designers out there?
And you bring the special sauce, and it's so intrinsic to your brain. And so, that's something I talk about a lot, is people are always talking about, I don't want to give away my special sauce. And for most of us, for most of what we do, the mechanics of it can be Googled. The mechanics of it can be YouTubed. It's your unique perspective, your unique brain, and your unique strategy that makes it so awesome, or your personality, depending on what the thing is for you. Your personality is a big part of it because you have this deep connection with your clients. So, saying that you don't need one or you don't have one isn't necessarily true, because you all have it. It's a matter of putting words to it. And knowing it in your head is not enough, because seeing the actual words allows you to say, oh, that's not quite it, or I need to get more specific, or it allows someone else to ask questions about it that will then allow you to refine it. And I think it's this constant refining that we do in business. And where you may start and you may say, I want to work with online entrepreneurs. You may then change that to, I want to work with female-owned startups. I want to work with tech or SaaS or any of these other niches, but you won't know that until you put it in writing and test it. And that's what we were talking about before we went live, is the value of testing it out, whether it's with a small group or even just throwing it out into the world for a year. Because you won't know how you feel about it until you start talking about it.
Yeah.
And having that written down allows you to internalize it, so you can actually speak about it in a way that's both concise, but also makes sense to people who may not be in your space.
So let's talk about that refining process, because I get a lot of pushback as a marketer on the need to constantly test and refine. And people are like, well, you're an expert. Why don't you get it right on the first try? Well, it's kind of not how it works. Sorry.
It isn't. And there's so much testing and getting data and saying, here's what this looks like. And data isn't always numbers.
No.
A lot of the time, data is like raw, real feedback. That's like, it either validates what you're putting out into the world, or it pushes back at it. And it's like, maybe your offer is not quite right. Maybe the way you're positioning it's not quite right.
Mhm.
Maybe all of that's great. Maybe your copy is fantastic. Maybe it's your design that's not quite hitting the mark. Maybe it's your colors. And so you can do only so much research up front. And then you push it out there and it's like, wow, this is pushing back. Maybe
Right.
maybe this thing that I thought was so clever and spot on isn't making sense. And I'll give you an example. My brand is Copy Snacks. And so the very first time that I put out a call to action, I was like, get snacking. It's going to be awesome. And this is a little off topic for USP. But what I found out is I was like, yes, it's on brand, but no one clicked it because they had no idea what get snacking actually meant.
Yeah.
With the new offer that I'm putting together, it's got snacks as part of it. And so get snacking actually works. And it was so excited to be able to use that again. But it just so, and I think that validates the point. Like, put it out there and it may be great, but the person who determines it's great isn't you, the client, it's you, your audience.
Yeah.
And when they say, oh, this is amazing, this is me, that's when you know that you've nailed it. So with the USP, going back to that, you can say, I help female-led startups with amazing web design or amazing web copy or something. But if you can show what they get as someone shut a door down the street at Haley's house. It's the dog alarm. We have a dog who alarms in the middle of the night when a deer crosses the road near our house. And it's like, how does he know? I have no idea. So, I mean, I think that like ties into, I'll just keep talking while you're waiting for your pup, is that it has to be perfect to publish it. Nothing in marketing is ever perfect. And here's why. It can be perfect for a very finite period. But what was perfect in 1999 is no longer relevant for today's market, whether that's your website, whether that's your copy, whether it's, I mean, we didn't even have smartphones. Like, we couldn't even text for the most part in 1999. So how much of our marketing can be relevant to that? So we can bring a lot of those concepts forward, but we can't actually be 100% relevant unless we're taking today's people, today's current situation. Stuff from 2019 isn't relevant to our world even, because like what happened in 2020, it's like the pandemic that shall not be named. I called it Voldemort in a recent email and I was just cracking. I still laugh about it.
Yeah,
But
no, totally.
so offers for 1999, 2019.
Yeah, it feels like we're in 1999.
USP, and you're talking about in-person marketing or networking events, that might be relevant again now, but it wasn't relevant last year. So like, just think, like, the world changes. The way you serve your clients is going to change periodically. It doesn't matter what kind of business you have, whether you're a web design business, whether you're a copywriting business, whether you sell hot tubs, whether you service medical equipment. The products change, the way you approach things changes. So you're going to have these pivots in your business. So even if your USP is perfect when we put it out into the world, my guess is for 99% of businesses, it is going to shift over the next 6 to 12 months. It's not a negative thing to realize that what you put out there a year ago is no longer accurate. And like, man, I can't believe I said that. Because we move on, we learn, and we change based on what we learn.
And our businesses move and our businesses change a little bit, and technology changes, and the world we're in fundamentally changes. One of my favorite quotes from my husband, because he said something recently that I was like, who are you and what have you done with my husband? I apologize. We are still having the dog alarm.
And on that note, like, we're on a cliffhanger here of what Haley's husband said.
So anyway, he said that a man never crosses the same river twice.
Yeah.
Because the river changes and the person changes. And it's that constant evolution and change that's so important. And I apologize. We've got the dog alarm going wild.
I love it.
She's doing her job.
She is. She's protecting
enthusiastically, and I apologize for that. Yes. All the cute dog pictures that I post, now you guys know that she's my secret attack guard dog. She will vigorously protect me from shadows.
I love it.
Vigorously and enthusiastically protect me from shadows. But that USP does change over time too, because our experiences change.
Well, and yeah, not only do our experiences change, but we it's that refining process of who we are. And the person I was in the business I wanted to build 3 years ago when I first opened my doors, which is almost like 3 years ago this week, I think, is like incredibly different than the business that I wanted to build a year ago. And again, from the business that I'm building today. So, and that's something, spoiler alert, this is a big part of our conversation tomorrow too, is you can build a USP, and you should build a USP for the business that you want to build, a business that you're building towards instead of the business that you're doing right now. Because if your USP only reflects what you're doing right now, then it's going to be out of date the second you throw it up there on your website. And whether you throw it up there as, your boilerplate, your footer text, or you're converting it into effective headlines, doesn't matter. It's not going to be accurate if it only reflects the business that you built in the past. So it's okay to think forward, and it's okay to not be 100% confident in it, because the world could shift again tomorrow. And what if you wait to take action on this? And a lot of it's about taking imperfect action. Because if and I read something really interesting, and I can't remember who said it or where, but it was one of those things that was really profound to me. And now it just blew straight out of my head, which is really embarrassing while I'm mid-sentence. How often does that happen?
That's like giving a mom a muffin or a moose a muffin.
Yeah. Oh, it's back. It's back.
Oh, good.
And it was like, if you wait till you're ready to throw out an offer, then first of all, you'll never be ready. It will never be perfect. And, you'll never take action if you wait till it's the perfect time. On the flip side, if you throw it out there and it's just absolutely amazing and goes off without a hitch, you probably waited too long to put it out there. And you could have been doing amazing things ahead of time. A big part of it is building in public and learning in public.
Yeah.
And then showing how you're changing, because that's one of the best ways to get social, is to show people what you're building as you're building it, and to get them on board, and to make them excited to see you succeed, excited to see some of these things come together, and excited for what you can do for them. We're getting way off topic on USPs, but I mean, it's one of those things that's super cool about testing and refining publicly, because then you're building this audience of this network of people who want you to succeed.
Tell me about this workshop that you are doing tomorrow that is so juicy and amazing.
So what's really interesting is, a year ago, I created a course that's called Womp Womp to Wow. And it is for entrepreneurs who want to write their own website copy, who pretty well know who they are, what they do, even if they haven't put words to it, but just can't seem to get past the blinking cursor, the blank document, trying to figure out what to say and when to say it. So I launched this first a year ago, and then dialed it back in and baited it again in August. So this has been a year of progress, speaking of building in public. What I built for that piece was a way to help people create this USP that they could use as a starting point. And it was almost ancillary to the rest of the course, which teaches homepage, about page, and services page copywriting. And so what's really kind of fascinating is I was like, no, this will be interesting. I'll just throw it in there with this short training, this short tool. It's called USP Mad Libs. And it's really cool because it turns it almost into a game, and then you're assembling it, as opposed to creating from scratch, right? Because that's the hardest thing, is to create from scratch. It's much easier to edit than it is to come up with new ideas. So I was astounded at the value that this brought to people and the level of interest that there was in this particular tool. So I decided to create a workshop out of it. And that's what tomorrow is it's a workshop that digs deep into what a USP is, some of the misconceptions and problems people have around it, which we've talked about a little bit today. And then to show you how to use that, not only in your marketing, but in your content plan and your website, into showing up for yourself. So not just putting it in the little corner on the bottom of your website, but also to really help propel yourself out and to build the business that you want to build. It's also, the first half is training. Then, there's always a bonus for showing up, which part of that is the USP worksheet itself. People will get access to that. I'll tell you a little bit about the course, which is launching this week. And then the back half of this is all about workshopping. So you can pull together like a short USP, whether it's from my worksheet, whether it's something that you've had, and we'll workshop it live and just see kind of what happens. Everything will be recorded, but the workshopping portion will not become public because some of that is, personal, and
some of it's
throw it out there if you want to throw
people
it out
talking
there.
about their own USPs and their own business that they may not be ready to share
Right.
publicly yet.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
So it'll be public to our group who's live on the call, but after that it will be, tossed to the wind, meaning tossed just to the people who workshop theirs live so that they can look at the recording themselves.
Yeah, and I think that this is an important workshop, almost no matter where you are in your business, going back and looking at this stuff again, because I know a few people are at 7 and 8 figures and they've dialed their stuff and they've dialed their stuff and they've dialed their stuff. That's great. But what I see with a lot of people who are below that threshold is that there's still an element of dialing that has to happen, and revision and cleanup and scrub it up, especially because the world is changing so much right now, to make things a lot easier. It really does.
Well, and I think, any time that you can have a fill in the blank type exercise, it already starts you out ahead of the game. And what you come up with at the end of this exercise may or may not look anything like what you end up with after the fact. But having something that you can edit, and at least throw out there for reflection. If you do it exactly, it might be totally disjointed and missing words, but it's the principle behind it, because it's the thought pattern of how can you extract what's up here and what you already know, because you know it on a level, and make it more meaningful.
Absolutely.
And that's pretty much the philosophy behind the whole course.
Yeah.
Truth be told, is how can you be thinking about this a different way? What questions can you answer to get closer and closer and closer? So it's a different way of looking at things, and it's been really fun. It was fun to create. But I've gotten amazing feedback from people who've been through it.
That's awesome. I love it. And y'all, the link is above and below. I'm going to post it in the group as well after this. Just, sign up for this workshop. It is going to be amazing. Uplevel your USP in under an hour. How cool is that? And you really could sit down, if you're pretty clear on it, and come up with something serviceable in about an hour. Maybe it'll be the hour of our workshop, maybe not. But, it's sometimes hard to be doing this and trying to pay attention at the same time. But the fact of the matter is you can walk away with some really good information, I think. Yeah. And here's the link as well. I'm posting here. Can they get to it from the front page of your website as well?
No, as a matter of fact, I didn't. Well, speaking of holes in your marketing, we just uncovered one of mine. Everything's about everything's about womp womp to wow. But if for any reason you have any questions about this, just tag me in the comments here. I will definitely be monitoring it carefully.
Yep. And I have posted it everywhere here that we are live. So y'all sign up for this. It's an amazing workshop. It's going to be a ton of fun, and can't wait. I'm excited.
Well, thank you very much for.
Thank you, Erin, for joining me.
I enjoy our conversations all the time.
Me too.
I wish there was more time in the day so we could,
talk
chat
more.
Talk more.
That's kind of my thing. Is I wish I had more hours in the day to actually spend just chatting with people and communicating and connecting and doing all the things.
Yes.
Cool.
And we'll be back tomorrow to talk a little bit more about this. At 11, this is time zone math, and this is like the worst math in the world for me, but at 11:15 Eastern
and 10:15 Central.
10:15 Central.
Yep.
It's on the calendar. So
we'll see you guys later. Have a great afternoon, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.